The Busy Beaver Button Museum is a museum dedicated to, you guessed it, buttons, located in Chicago, Illinois. I am a remote intern with them this summer, giving a report on what I do on a day-to-day basis in my internship. The most fundamental part of this internship is doing historical research on buttons already located on the website. The first step is to go to a certain page on the Button Museum site where all the buttons that still need context are gathered. I'll choose a button I want to start researching, then head to the spreadsheet that is shared between volunteers, interns, and staff at the museum. If a button has already been snagged by another intern, it will be tagged as in progress. If it is not, I can tag it and start researching. My research process begins by assessing the button and deciding on a search strategy. The type of button will determine what kind of research I do. If it has words, I'll start with an exact phrase search on Google, and I may continue to other search engines and various newspaper aggregation sites. If the button is image-based, I'll save the image and run a reverse image search on Google, and usually also on Yandex, which is a Russian search engine with image searching capabilities that are a little beyond Google's, in my opinion. I follow whatever leads I can get, which have led me to all kinds of places, like scholarly databases, e-commerce sites, fan forums, anywhere and everywhere. Next, I write up a concise contextual overview for the button, including relevant anecdotes, check it for grammar and spelling, and cite my sources. The Busy Beaver Button Museum uses Drupal content management system for their site. I have editing capabilities, so when I'm done, I add my write-up to the buttons page. I then go back to our shared spreadsheet and mark the button research complete with a flag for someone else to check my work. It usually takes me about an hour or two per button, depending on how many rabbit holes I find in the process. Another task I do on a daily basis in the internship is integrity checks. This involves checking through a section of buttons to ensure that each record is complete and the information provided is up to date and factual. I am working through the buttons in the entertainment section of the digital collection. On our shared spreadsheet, I find the identifier number and I search the catalog for it. Then I look at the record and make any changes. Often this means I update the alternative text to the current convention. Although not visible to the eye, the alt text increases accessibility on the site by providing a description of an image to screen readers, and it also helps with search engine optimization. I check to be sure all required fields are filled and correct anything that is missing or incorrect. Many fields have a controlled vocabulary that I work from. For example, the field describing the back of the button has a controlled vocabulary like locking back, unlocking back, mirror back, etc. Next, I read over the contextual information about the button and make any necessary edits or updates. For example, a Ghostbusters button that was researched in 2015 referenced an upcoming reboot movie. I changed that to the past tense as the movie had already come out. I save the button, mark it as checked on this shared spreadsheet, and I move on. I do these checks in batches, and in an hour I'll usually finish about 15 to 20 button integrity checks. The final task my internship involves is editing and processing artifacts for the digital collection. For this task, I access a shared Google Drive that has raw images in it of buttons. I use Adobe Bridge to rename the files and add metadata, adjust the exposure in Camera Raw, and use Photoshop to make the backgrounds transparent. Then I upload the images to the site and add details like the alt text and the back style. These fields all have conventions around them, and I stick to those controlled vocabularies so that discoverability remains intact on the website. I create a new line on the shared spreadsheet and mark it to be reviewed by someone on site at the museum who will add physical description such as the size of the button and any text that may appear on the very edge of the button, which is called curled text. That about wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining me on this tour of a day in my life as a remote intern for the Busy Beaver Button Museum.